This week on the Rouge, White, and Blue, it seems like the Grey Cup was what, a week ago? And already the dominoes are falling. As Joe said to me earlier, they're not messing around this year in 2025 in the CFL. Coming up next on the Rouge, White, and Blue CFL podcast. Welcome to the Rouge, White, and Blue CFL podcast. My name's Oz Davis. I'm the co-host of the show. Joining me, as always, back from Canada, is my co-host, Joe Pritchard. Joe, how are things back in the States?
I'm gonna have to wait another year to replace this shirt, I guess. But other than that, I had a great time.
What, you got one of those Winnipeg CFL Champions 2024 t-shirts?
Nope, I think those are gone to Africa already.
Right. I was going to say, you hijacked the shipment. Okay. So, like I said at the top of the show, welcome to the Rouge, White, and Blue. So last weekend was the Grey Cup. Joe was there. Joe, like I like to ask you in these things because I live vicariously through you. How was the experience this year?
10 out of 10.
Yeah. Okay.
Had a shot at being 15 out of 10, but then the second half happened. So these things happen. Really,
Okay.
the whole experience of Vancouver did a fantastic job.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We always have our group from the old Twitter / now. A lot of us are gathering on Blue Sky these days. Usually that group will get together on Wednesday evening of Grey Cup week and just kind of have an informal, hey, we're all at Grey Cup. This year, like many other years, we also did a ritual gathering at the Spirit of Edmonton on Thursday evening.
Right.
Had a little bit of a tweet up set up on Friday with the CFLPA, and I won this wonderful hat that I'm wearing. Happens to be our sponsor, Royal Retros, so it all worked. That all worked out really nicely. I got myself a Upper Deck was there too, so I got myself a custom card made out of me with what I was wearing that night.
Oh, really? Oh, that's
Yep.
kind of cool. Oh,
Yep.
that's cool.
And then Saturday was the cancer event, which raised over
Right.
well, between everything that happened during the season and the event itself was somewhere in the range of like 72K, which is just enormous.
Yep.
Breaking the fourth wall slightly. My best friend in the world is running the event next year, and the goal is
Wow.
100K. So let's get at it.
Wow. Now, of that 72,000, that was within that was the whatever $300 we won from the fantasy football league this year, right?
Excellent. Yes.
Right. Good. Okay.
It was that plus all the money I spent on 50/50 tickets and raffle tickets.
Right.
Won myself a little bit of stuff there too, so that worked out nicely for me.
Okay.
A nice little prize pack that worked out. And then Sunday
Wait,
was the
so
game.
wait,
Oh,
when how did you win a prize? Just random draw?
just
Okay,
so yeah, so
okay.
during the event, there's of course the 50-50, which most CFL fans are
Yeah.
aware of and contribute very well to in the prairies
Mhm.
for each game. Um, then there's um, other tickets you could buy that you drop in buckets and go.
Right,
And
okay.
so so there's jerseys and such. There's also silent auctions for the larger things.
Hmm,
So you could buy
okay.
tickets to drop into buckets for kind of the medium prize packs, and the small prize packs are door prizes, and that's how I happen to win.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, okay. Right, wow. Yeah, lucky to win any prize with so many people there. So many people
Yeah,
involved.
but we filled the Shark Club in Vancouver, and people were even waiting to get in. So that's how popular
Yeah.
we're getting to be with this event. I got to meet a lot of listeners throughout the weekend. Got to spend that a whole event with fellow Montreal fan Brandon, um, one of our loyal listeners from way at
Yeah.
the beginning. So that was
Yeah.
a nice time. Nice time was had by all there. Other listeners that I met this weekend, quite a few. Chris in Vancouver, Mike from the Brew Crime podcast, who is one of our biggest backers.
Mhm.
That was nice to see them too. Many, many more. I mean, I could we could be here for a while with all the people I was able to reconnect with. So
Awesome.
fantastic time. So next year in Winnipeg, you're coming, right? Come on down.
Jeez, just don't ask. That's a whole can of
Yeah,
worms. I don't
gotta
even know.
gotta do it once.
I don't know what country I'm going to be living in 2025. Hopefully, the CFL will keep their online package. I will say that this is how we started the White and Blue series this season, talking about this international TV pack. All right, can't even call it TV anymore. International streaming package that is available to people not living in Canada or the US. So let's just hope they keep that, and then it won't matter so much where I'm living in the world. But to take the trek to Winnipeg in wintertime, if I'm living in Costa Rica, okay, maybe.
Gotta do it once.
I know if the money ever comes together, I'm going. I'm going.
Or Calgary 2026 would be a good time too.
Mm,
I'm guessing 2027 might end up in Edmonton if they keep the kind of the same string going. Although
yeah.
Ottawa's due whenever they're ready for one again, and I'm sure
Mhm.
Montreal will jump the line as soon as they're ready to go. So
That would be
I mean,
nice. That
it's
would be nice.
yeah, and I gosh, I'd have to think. But have I Grey Cupped everywhere except for Ottawa and Montreal now? Yes, I have.
Wow.
So Ottawa and Montreal, get on it. I need to have a Grey Cup in your city.
Nice, nice. Okay, so let's talk about this game. I mean, do we
Do we
still
have to?
remember this game, Joe? Oh,
Yes,
really?
in vivid detail.
Right. I mean, well, actually, it was kind of two games, right? You had the fourth quarter, which was 24-11, and you had the rest of the game, which was a typical Bombers Argos game. I did want to ask you this off the top, Joe. And again, I don't mean to be mean or anything here, but is this the new fate of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers? I mean, you're to become the 90s Buffalo Bills or closer to home, the what, mid 50s Montreal Alouettes, who were the
Or
last team
the
to
two the
move
two
three in a row?
the 2000s Alouettes. I mean, if you're gonna go
3 out of 4.
long term,
No.
the 2000s Alouettes or the 2010s Calgary Stampeders. Not exactly what you aspire to be,
Right.
but that's still pretty damn good, right?
Well, domination of the West,
Mhm.
which, until Bo Levy Mitchell's strange end of his career there in Calgary, was a feat.
And even they didn't do 5 in a row.
No, 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 no. But I mean, again, like to win the West like this 3 years in a row is quite the achievement, especially in the last what. So how many they except for the first one, they've won every year by record, right? So they've won the West 4 times now by win-loss record.
Hmm.
Correct? Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And then that first year they came second,
They were third that year. They
2019.
were
They were
third
third.
that
That's
year,
right. That's
but they
right.
had struggled mid-season after losing Matt Nichols, so it took them
Hmm.
a while to build back up. But they
Hmm.
built back up and got hot at the right time. So
Hmm.
that's always
So
a thing that happens with playoffs, right?
mhm. Playoffs, yeah, oh, especially in the CFL. I mean, it's
Mm.
almost obligatory that if Toronto wants to win this thing, they have to be 10-8, 9-9. You know,
Yeah,
if they're
16
better
and
than
2
that,
didn't exactly work out for them.
right, right, exactly. If they're better than half a game over 500, well then, you know, they're not going to make the Grey Cup, much less win it. Of course, Toronto continued their streak since what, 1983 or something like this,
I think that was the
undefeated in
last one
Grey
they
Cups.
lost.
Yeah.
No, 82 was the last one. No, 87 was the last one they lost.
Oh, 87. Okay.
87.
So yeah.
And
So
that was a
that's
hell of a game too.
hmm yeah. Since the 1990s, then the
Yep.
Argos
They
have not
get there, they
lost
win.
the Grey Cup, right? Right. Which is not something I was betting on. I was fading that. For this game. Oh, first time I've
Yeah.
lost a football championship game in a long time as far as betting goes. So, um, all right. Last the last time we did this show, we were talking about the championship games, the divisionals in the CFL, and I said, again, you don't have to be a genius to say that you lose that turnover battle, you're going to lose the game, like the Alouettes did against these Argos.
Hmm.
But wow, the Argos in the bigger picture really had the Bombers number this season. Played 3 times, swept all 3, and the turnovers 14-5. Um, Won the turnover battle in this game 5-2, including 4 picks. Um, I don't know, Joe. I mean, I guess we could start with the bigger picture. This is the Bombers. This is the team that makes those adjustments at halftime. Was this snowball in the fourth quarter simply the result of Zach Caleros getting his finger almost taken off?
Hmm. I would
Yeah.
say.
Uh
I mean, he came in. He clearly wasn't fully 100%, but that's one part of the whole package of the Bombers is that Mike O'Shea is incredibly loyal, and if Zach Claro said he could go, he was going to go. Terry Wilson didn't do anything to impress anybody when he got the ball. Um, After Willie Jefferson literally tried to win the game by himself in the second half and did
Jesus, yeah.
fairly he did a lot of
Elegant.
damage.
Elegant.
Unfortunately, that's what happens though, is Zach wasn't throwing very well with the glove and with the
Mhm.
finger, and Toronto is a championship team for a reason. They will kill you if you make mistakes,
Mhm.
which is
Mhm.
something we've been saying about the Bombers for 5 years. I mean,
Mhm.
really though,
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
the Bombers were making mistakes before Zach was hurt.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, Lucky Whitehead's fumble. They made
Uh-huh.
other mistakes earlier on. Lots of drops to kill drives in the first half. It wasn't feeling good even before Lucky fumbled, and once that happened, you just had that feeling even before you knew Zach was out that
Mhm.
this
Well, I
isn't
mean,
really going our way here, and we're not playing the way we needed to play to beat this team.
yeah, I mean, I usually like to do the rundown of the Grey Cup every year, and here it is. It's right here in my notes. The first snap of the game was an illegal procedure penalty
Hmm.
on the Bombers. I mean, were you nervous
I
after that?
wasn't too nervous throughout the first half, although I was hoping for one or two bigger plays to like,
Okay.
okay, let's grab some momentum here. Because Toronto's offense was clearly not on fire. Dick Arbuckle was very, very clearly trying not to make mistakes. He succeeded in that task. He made a couple of good throws through the game. He got some help on the ground from the ground game.
Yeah.
The offense did what they needed to do, which was just to control the ball. That's what they were gunning for, and they kept the Bombers' offense off the field in the first half. And then um, once the Bomber offense was showing signs of vulnerability and the Bomber special teams showing signs of vulnerability, that's when they struck, and they struck very hard and very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the conclusion we were drawing even before the game was, out of all the teams in this league to not have their starting quarterback in the game, who better than Toronto, right? They're built to have a backup quarterback come in and navigate the seas and keep you in the game and let your defense and special teams finish it off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what they did.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, or you pretty much nailed down that, at least that first half for Toronto, keeping them off the field. I mean, here, Toronto's first drive of the game in that first quarter, take 5 minutes. They took 5 minutes to go 50 yards and kick the field goal. However, at this point, those of us who had Bombers -7 or Bombers -9 or Bombers -10, yes, I did, looks pretty bad already. But I thought the play of the first quarter was, right towards the end of the quarter where, Caleros just launches that sweet drop in the basket pass to Wilson and for 49 yards, and then pretty soon they're up 7-3. So at this point you're feeling pretty confident.
Yeah, especially then
Okay.
when the next drive goes down the field too. And
Right.
they end up with three, but they end up with two straight drives where the offense is starting to move the ball, starting to look
Right.
like they've got their legs under them.
Right. Right.
We didn't see
Right.
that offense again for the rest of the game.
Right. Exactly. 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 That's what I have in the notes here. Who knew that 10-3 would be would be as good as it gets for Winnipeg in this game, right? Yeah. And then right before the half, Caleros throws the interception for unknown reasons. Bombers defense holds well enough, but still, your halftime is 10-9 when it might have been 13 or 17-6. Yeah. So at this point, it's looking like the Bombers are throwing away opportunities here.
And they were.
Um, right. Okay. So I wanted to ask you, what is your experience at halftime? So did you do the gather together for photo shoot
No,
thing?
we just stayed in our seats, watched the
Oh,
Jonas
really?
brothers, who were on the field more at halftime than the Bombers' offense had been on the field in the first half, which didn't feel all that good.
That's that's a good take. That's a good take. I hadn't even considered that. Um, the halftime show, probably my least favorite part of any championship game. Very rarely a favorite of mine doing the show. So, right, let's talk about the third quarter of this game. I don't know. At this point, again, like the Bombers have been that team making the halftime adjustments this year, shutting down teams on offense in the second half. But here we go. In the third quarter, the Bombers are going 2-and-out a couple of times. Here's the Lucky Whitehead fumble. Just prior to that, Willie Jefferson, again, who was just a beast in this game, ripped through the line, generated the fumble, but the Argos recovered. See, really starting to get a sense. I don't know if you were getting the sense either of here it is again, right? The Bombers are not getting the breaks, right? Those bounces are not going their way in this game.
I mean, they call it the Argo bounce for a reason, right?
Right. In full display in the 111th Grey Cup.
But
Um,
truthfully, they caused a lot of them. So who am I to complain about that?
mhm, mhm. But I mean, on the other hand, I thought, I really still did not believe that. the Bombers going to win this game, lose this game. At the end of the third quarter, it's 17-17. One of the things I liked was that, for example, I mean, the Bombers are, there's that thing in Grey Cup games and Super Bowl games, to some extent, national championship games in United States college games, where you like these unknown guys getting the spotlight, right? You like the unsung heroes, just getting a highlight, for the career highlight clip. In this case, here it is in the third quarter. Kevin Meatall gets a touchdown catch. He had 18 catches this season.
And that where they went ahead at that point was when I
Right.
was like, this isn't looking like a game. We aren't playing the way we need to play to win this game. End of story.
Well,
And I figured at that point they were going to need their best from that point, and they just didn't have it.
mhm. Well, yeah, but on the other hand, Joe, I mean, 17-17 is already more points than either of the other two Argos Bombers game this season.
Which is true,
Mhm,
but the Argos
mhm,
continued to make the Bombers pay for mistakes and
mhm,
continued to stay ahead of the game that way. That's the game. That was the nightmare scenario for the Bombers, was to turn the ball over a bunch, give up a lot of points on turnovers, because the Argos offense wasn't moving the ball all that much.
mhm.
But then every time the Bombers would turn it over, the Argos would just stick it right in the end zone from that point forward.
Right.
Because that was the first play after a turnover. Boom,
Mhm,
touchdown. Game
mhm,
changed.
mhm, mhm. Well, yeah, that was the thing, because the fourth quarter, I mean, again, like 17-17, fourth quarter, basically opens with Jefferson, getting the pick. And, okay, so the Bombers, Terry Wilson's in their quarterback now because Caleros is, you know, bleeding like a hemophiliac on the sideline. Actually, I wanted to ask you this one. Okay, so what, like, okay, so of course on TV, Caleros gets this injury. We get close-ups of his hand. We see him bleeding about. They're giving him treatment or whatever. But what is the sense live? Like, what is the sense in the stadium? Do you know about this? Is it just a rumor going
Oh
around?
no,
I mean,
we had people nearby saying that they saw Caleros go to the locker room, and at that point, it's just
okay.
like, okay, now we're the underdogs.
Right, right. But nevertheless, 2017 with Wilson in the game. But and then, as you basically alluded to, that was it right there. In all these games this season, the Bombers have been the team tiring out the opposing offense. In this game, it felt like the reverse. However, Lightning just struck a bunch of times, right? It's not, well, although I could say in the first major drive for the Bombers in that fourth period, they pretty much just ran it right down the Bombers' throats. Kadeem Carey and Arbuckle accounted for 41 yards on that drive. So on five touches, by the way. So these two guys are gaining 8 yards per carry in that drive. That's when the Argos scored a touchdown, took the lead for the first time in the game, and never relinquished it. Um, could you see Caleros' gloves
Oh
from the
yeah,
stands?
oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we were what, 9 rows up in the upper deck,
Okay.
which is cozy.
Yeah.
So it was a good place to watch the game.
Yeah. Nice. Um, yeah, so this was wild to me. Is that okay? So they made this big deal about that on the TV broadcast, on the TSN broadcast. They made a big deal about this. He's coming out, he's wearing the gloves. And on the first snap, he decides to just air it out. It's just pretty confident, but to no avail. To no avail. I mean, there's the interception, there's the touchdown. Next drive, another pick six. I mean, you know,
Practically,
uh,
anyway.
right. Now it's starting to look like the Argos Red Blacks. you know? uh, wow, wow. And then it was all over but the crying at that point. Brady Oliveira gets a garbage time touchdown. So disappointed, obviously, Joe. I was disappointed. All my bets. I guess you should never pick the blowout in the Grey Cup. Is the is the lesson I learned anyway. How did you come away from the game, Joe? I mean, obviously disappointed. Anything else? I mean, you're still proud of this team,
Of
are you
course.
not?
Of course.
Right?
I
All
mean,
right.
5 years in a row at top of the
Okay.
West.
Okay.
What more can you ask for? There was what, a minute away from possibly winning 2022. They were seconds away from winning 2023, and 2024 didn't go quite as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
What more can you ask? Like, sure, make a couple more plays the other two games, but for all they've given us in the last 5 years, I mean, fans will be fans and will say stupid stuff, but if you if you handed us that at the beginning of 2019, it says you guys are winning 2 out of 5. I'm not going to tell you which two, and you're going to lose 3 of them.
Right.
Bomber fans would have jumped up and down, going,
Mhm.
"Yes, we're winning two
Yeah.
of these, and we haven't won for how long?
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, your team is going to be the class of the league, with Toronto at this point potentially usurping
Yeah.
that 2 out of 3. I mean, they're in the same realm too. Montreal's close. Hopefully, they get another one at some point here too, because they're running things the right way too. But I mean, you get to be the team everybody guns for the next 5 years. Like, sign me up.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
We'd have taken that in a heartbeat.
Uh-huh. I was
And
just looking. Sorry. Go ahead.
and the Hollywood scenario is set up for next year.
Which is what? How do you see that?
Well, Grey Cup's in Winnipeg. Lots of contracts are expiring after 2025.
Okay.
One more run at it.
Uh huh.
The the
You're
script
gonna get
writers are the
Montreal or
script
Toronto.
the script writers are being a little bit slightly more cruel than I would hope they would have been
Uh-huh.
over the last 3 years. But I mean, if they can give me that ending, all is forgiven.
You need to get for the
And we need
opponent.
and we need Toronto next year too, right?
No, you need Ottawa. You need Ottawa, right? Ottawa was last in the Grey Cup in 2018, and that's the only team you haven't seen in this game. So,
No,
uh,
I think we want Toronto for the Hollywood ending. You want
yeah,
Toronto because they've beaten us the last 2 times,
yeah.
right?
And plus, you need the heavy, right? You need
Right.
the dark side. The Owls, I don't think fit that bill, and the Red Blacks certainly don't. They could not be the villain in the Disney movie of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers for sure.
Right.
Um, okay,
Let's
so
let's
I was
finish the let's finish the let's finish the story, as they say in WWE, right?
okay. I wouldn't know. All right, so I was looking at this. Since we've been doing this show, um, th- you might as well not even look at the lines on these games. Okay, so this year, underdog wins in a blowout. Right, last year, underdog wins. 2022, underdog wins in a 1 point game. 2021, okay. Winnipeg was the favorite that year against Hamilton after having a great regular season. Probably the best team on this run. Wouldn't you say,
Yes.
Joe? The
I
2021?
would say that team was the most
Yeah.
complete.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
2022 had a flaw that was exposed. 2023, couple of key injuries right at the end that don't help, and Montreal played a hell of a game. I
Montreal
liked
just got
that
hot.
team.
Just got hot.
I
Yeah.
liked that team too. I liked 2023. I liked 2024. They came up off the floor. They shouldn't have been in that Grey Cup. They
Yep.
shouldn't have been the favorites.
Yep. I don't think that they can get off to a slow start like that next year either, by the way.
No.
Uh, you can't do that next year. All right.
And they had a fatal flaw in 2024
Mhm.
at they didn't have anybody that could step up when Zach went down.
Mhm, mhm. Um, 2020, no Grey Cup. 2019, Winnipeg, big underdogs, winning a blowout over Hamilton. 2018, right, rematch. So Calgary was the favorite over Ottawa, and they did win. So there's a win for the favorite. 2017, Toronto versus Calgary. Calgary must have been the favorite that year,
Got to be
right?
a
This
huge
this
favorite
was
because
the snow
Toronto was
game.
like 9-9, right?
Yeah, this was the snow game. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. So again, Toronto, big underdogs, win by 3. 2018, 2016, Ottawa, of course, that was the miracle year for the Red Blacks, second year of their existence,
I'm sure they were a
beating.
heavy underdog.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, serious underdog against Calgary again, who was the big favorite. And then the first year we did it, Edmonton versus Ottawa, and of course Edmonton was the big favorite that year. So that's, let's see, one, two, three, four, five, six. Six of the last 10, right, have been upsets. So I guess, don't listen to the point spread. Go with the hotter team, I guess, is the mojo here. Although Winnipeg was hotter going into this game, so you can't even count on that. Um, okay, so let me ask you this one, Joe, because also you're at the game, and of course, one of the big deals of the TV broadcast is when the Mounties escort the cup out in the fourth quarter. What sense do you get of that actually at the game? Do they put that on the big screen or?
It was on the big screen for a
Okay.
moment. We weren't
Oh, okay.
exactly looking for it at that point because we knew it wasn't going home with us. So at that point, we're just like, okay, how far do we take this before we get out of here?
Oh, right. Right, right. So let's see. Parking the car, getting out
Thankfully,
of the
we were
parking
only a
lot.
20-minute walk from the hotel, and we
Oh,
for
nice.
stopped for dinner on the way back because it was early enough when the game
Yeah,
was over there to be a reasonable dinner time, right? Instead of, "Oh,
nice.
okay, what fast food places are open?" No, it's
Yeah.
a nice dinner. Had a nice sit down dinner. Really good waiter who took some pity on us, although he didn't offer a pity discount, even though I asked for it. Uh, kind of out of his hands though, so I can't blame him. And then we kind of just left the game on the table and went home.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, it's Vancouver. You should eat at a proper restaurant. They got some great restaurants in that city. Um, okay, so probably should have done this before we went through the game rewind. It's been a while, but of course, one of the, I don't know what you want to call it, one of the rituals, one of the pastimes that we must do during Grey Cup week is the commissioner's address. The thing is, I'm sure Mr. Ambrosi in his last, State of the League address as commissioner, I'm sure he spoke for a while, but mostly what captured the media's attention from Three Down Nation on down was the stuff that he said about expansion. And the feeling that got was is that Mr. Ambrosi really wanted this to be his legacy. He wanted to be the guy to put in that 10th team. And naturally, he commented on, I don't think that America is the proper place for the 10th team. I think we've got
Completely
a lot of
agree.
I think we've got a lot of things happening in Canada, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, so I don't know. Okay, so yeah, you got the early I agree statement. Um, I, of course, am not opposed to doing that. It's wild because at sites like Three Down Nation, some of the local newspapers like Montreal Gazette are commenting on this, and people are making the connection with the UFL. And somehow the argument is, oh, since that league is folding, we should put a CFL team in the States. I don't quite follow that
No.
logic.
There's no logic to it. It's like, "Oh, look, open
Yeah,
markets, except they're all full except for one." And you
yeah,
can only do the Baltimore Miracle thing when you have other US teams so that
yep,
they're playing somebody recognizable, right?
yep,
And B, you need a strong NFL legacy there. And
uh,
it's kind of in the same ballpark of how long St. Louis has been without a team now, because we're
right,
on, what, 8
right,
years now, and Baltimore was 10.
yep.
But is
Yeah, but
there enough?
Baltimore was still seething, right? Baltimore got their team stolen. I mean, St. Louis had a lot of advance time. Now they were not happy when the Rams left town, but
Yeah.
it wasn't like the entire city was outraged.
And they already knew it was happening too.
Right,
Once the rich guy decides, "Hey,
right,
look, I'm gonna buy a plot in LA and oh, it seems to be the size of a stadium." It's like, okay, well, you could see this coming, and the Rams had been garbage
right.
for like 10 years anyway. So it was like
Yes,
the
yes.
honeymoon was over. They had a couple of really fantastic years there, but they
Uh-huh.
didn't have a legacy. The the Rams in St. Louis weren't exactly tied to the city, right? Not the way the Colts were, because the Colts were the first,
Yeah.
right? They were the first, and the Orioles came right afterwards, but
Uh-huh.
that was their first major team. I mean, it was
Yep,
a second shot at having a Colts team, but it was the first one that
yep,
stuck, right?
yep, yep.
And then
The
they had,
Colts are
yeah,
to the Colts are to Indianapolis, Baltimore as the Broncos are to Denver.
right.
You know, that's like this is the sign that you're a major league city or
Mhm.
whatever. You know, and so you always take pride in that team. And you know, there are other cities like this too. I mean, Portland and San Antonio with their NBA clubs, for example. I mean, they will always place those teams first, second, and third over any other team that comes in there. Um, yeah, I feel like St. Louis is there. I mean, they've supported UFL teams since the Rams left, and I believe there was another fly-by-night league in St. Louis, and they had the highest attendance in that league as well. So clearly, some people
Sure,
still
but
want to.
how long does that bump last?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
We
yeah,
never
yeah.
got to test
Uh,
that in
a
Baltimore.
generation, one
Right.
generation,
We never got to
basically.
test that in Baltimore, though, right? It was 2
No,
years and
yeah.
everything around them collapsed, and they found a home in Montreal.
Yep. 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 Yeah. 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 That was come and go. And the band played on though.
The band
So
played on, and they got support from former Colts players saying, "Hey, look,
yeah.
come see this."
Yeah.
I don't think you're gonna see Torrey Holt and Kurt Warner sitting in St. Louis going, "Hey, come watch the St. Louis whatchamacallits," right?
Yeah. 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 Um yeah, I don't know. I for some odd reason I still have uh faith in this. In that deal. I mean, again, I don't think that the CFL should go nuts. All of the folding of these recent leagues in the states should be, you know, more impetus not to try it again. Uh, but I do believe that one team could work. I just want that symmetry. I want that 10th team in this league. You know, it just there's all
Yeah.
these weird
And
schedule
Halifax,
issues and
and I honestly don't blame Ambrosi for expansion falling through, because they had
of course
some
not.
momentum built up, and then COVID
Yeah,
hit and
yeah.
wiped it all out.
Yeah, it's just
I don't
another
blame
thing that
him for
COVID killed.
that. The problem being with his tenure, and I got to spend a lot of time talking to John Hodge
Uh-huh.
over that weekend too, and getting some more insight on what the issues were, and it just you need somebody in the commissioner's spot that's a clear and concise communicator,
Mhm.
whether the news be good, especially when the news is good. And that was what Hodge was telling me, is that Ambrosi struggled to put a clear and concise, hey, look, this is great. He was very good at, when the bad news came, he was good at uh, not making it feel so impactful, but that was the same thing with the positive news. So
Mhm.
I think the next commissioner is going to have to uh, bring just bring a little bit more pop to it, right? Be
Mhm.
he's gonna be a mouthpiece for the owners, no matter who you're gonna get. You just need one that's going to be a lot more clear about, hey, this is great for the league, and be able to work around the negative news.
Well,
Because
yeah, but
that's the job of the commissioner, right? At this point, is to be the mouthpiece of the owners.
of course. Yeah, 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 of course. Of course. Well, I like how okay, so maybe in the middle bit of the tenure he wasn't too visible. But I actually liked how Ambrosi was pretty visible. I mean, he might not have been commenting on the heavier issues constantly, but at least he wasn't the stealth commissioner like
No,
we
we
had
had that
prior.
beforehand.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. At least he wasn't that. And the thing is, Ambrosi, history is not going to be kind to him anyway. But again, like he actually sailed this league through COVID,
I
and
do.
so for me, that's good.
I stick by my words from the last show,
Right.
in that I think he deserves more credit than he's getting.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So I do stick with that. Maybe it was probably just time for a new voice, and
Yeah,
he had gotten on the wrong side of a couple powerful teams. That's going to
yeah,
end you no matter what when you're a commissioner, right?
yeah, yeah. But I mean, he kept Toronto afloat, kept Montreal afloat during ownership
Mhm.
issues. Oh, I mean, if you wanna blame him for not expanding the 10th team, then maybe he should get some credit for BC Lions' recent public success. You know, by the
Yeah, I
same.
mean, I remember when we started the show, the BC, Toronto, and Montreal
Yeah.
were holes that the league had
Yep.
had pretty much for 20 years at that
Yep.
point, and now look at them, right?
Yeah. Right. 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 These are successful franchises on the field and off to a great extent.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Again, like I said last time, I mean, I certainly, I wouldn't say I'm a fan of the Ambrosi era, but I'm definitely on the plus side. I'm definitely on
Mhm.
the positive side. I don't think that detraction
There have
was.
been far worse commissioners of the CFL. How about that?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And
Like
most of them,
you could do worse.
like who out there would you point to and go, he had a fantastic tenure?
Right,
Who, right?
right. Exactly, exactly. Um. Okay. So, all right. Let's look toward the future as the league is doing. First, we can talk about our sponsor, RoyalRetros.com. Get 10% off when you enter the promo code RWBCFL at checkout for all of your great retro gear from defunct teams and defunct leagues. But Joe, now you've got a cap there. What is your Royal Retros cap?
It's from the CFLPA. It's for the 2024 All Stars.
Oh, nice.
And
Okay.
the Royal Retros rep was at the tweet up. We got to say hi,
Oh,
shake his
swell.
hands. Scout was also at the tweet up. Our fearless
Nice.
leader at the Shotgun Sports Network, so he made the
Oh,
introductions.
nice.
It was good
Okay.
spending time with him as well, and y- just a fantastic overall weekend. So
Yeah. Well, that's cool. That's cool. Great, great. I do like Royal Retros. Again, that's online shopping for gear for defunct teams, defunct leagues. Lots of sharp looking
and
stuff.
the CFLPA.
And the CFL. um, and like I say, coupon code RWBCFL at checkout gets 10% off. I guess we're still running this promotion during the off season. So please feel free. RWBCFL for 10% off. Right. So we're already making moves in the off season. I guess let's talk the simpler, more headline grabby stories. Of course, the big news is what? 10 minutes after the Grey Cup ended? No, not quite. But within about a week after the Cup, we got the news that, wow, Vernon Adams on Calgary. Wow.
Yep.
I mean, did you see this coming and did you think this would happen so quickly?
I don't know about quickly, but it needed to happen sooner rather than later because teams needed to make decisions about free agency. Um, and the sooner you have that too, the more chance you have to restructure a contract too to fit within the 2024 cap and to make it less onerous on a 2025 cap. Sounds like Adams is willing to work out contract details with Calgary to make it a little bit more team friendly. Even as long as he gets the money he's owed, he's willing to restructure to make it work. Um, so
Mhm.
you got that going on. I mean, you want to just go west to east and cover kind of where are we sitting right now?
Okay, sure, sure.
Yeah, because I
Let's
mean, BC is looking for a head coach.
right,
They do have a new GM. They have
right.
clearly established that Nathan Rourke is the future, although that was established the moment he put pen to paper. They got basically a draft pick swap from Calgary, got some positions moved up, and Calgary moves down. Uh, so that really there couldn't have been that big of a market for Adams, given that A, there's salary obligations to come with it, and B, everybody knows you need to make that trade. So who's going
Right,
to so who's going to throw the kitchen sink at you?
right.
So they probably got the best they could have
Yeah,
gotten.
yep,
It's
yep.
going to be interesting to see where this goes from here because this past year, as we've been saying all year, was supposed to be their year.
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
Once September hit, it was clear it was going the wrong way, and nothing really could fix it.
mhm,
So somebody had to pay the price for that. It was Rick Campbell, uh, Vernon Adams, who was clearly a good team leader when he was the starter, is going to get a chance to lead Calgary now, and we'll have to see, do we ever see the 2022 Nathan Rourke again? If
mhm.
we do, 2024 would be okay, that's the price we pay for our franchise quarterback. If
Yeah.
not, it could go down as one of the biggest blunders in CFL history. Far too early to say anything like that. I'm
Mhm,
of the opinion that even if we don't quite get 2022 Nathan Rourke back, it's going to be far better. He's going to have a chance to um, reestablish his leadership of the team instead of being parachuted in and say, oh, this is my team now. It doesn't usually work that way.
mhm, mhm,
It's going to be an interesting offseason out there to see how they rebuild this. They
mhm.
have they have momentum in the community. It's from the two times I've been in Vancouver, it was very, very clearly more. I mean, of course, they're running the Grey Cup, and there's a lot more CFL fans around. But I saw a lot more BC Lions merchandise just out and about
Mm,
than I would have otherwise. I think.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Okay. Yeah, see, I'm not so sure that we can be so neat and go west to east because there's this whole thing going on involving the front offices of about four teams here in the league. Um, this all started with the Elks hiring Ed Hervey
Hmm.
from Hamilton. Right now, there was no surprise there. We even talked about this on the show. I think after Hamilton and Edmonton were eliminated from the regular season, Campbell is out in BC, and it felt like
He has
basically the
to fit what they're doing in Edmonton, which is bring
right,
back anybody with ties to the previous regimes that have
right.
been successful. I mean, Hugh Campbell's kid, like, how do you say no to that if you're Edmonton, right?
Right, 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 right. I mean, I
Like,
felt
you're
like,
trying to regrow your fan base. Like,
yeah,
if you're getting the band back together, that's the obvious move to make,
yeah.
which is why I don't think it's going to happen because it's too obvious.
Okay, okay, all right. Yeah. Plus, I mean, with the new ownership, as a lifetime fan, you're reaching back in history as well. So.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I felt like basically the first thing Harvey did, it's like first day on the job, 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. or whatever, was to request permission from BC to talk to Campbell. I
Like,
mean,
what
it's
permission
like
do you need? He's no longer the head coach there, right?
right. I thought that was weird. I thought that
I
was weird.
wonder if they're still I wonder if he's still under contract and still
Yeah,
a part of the organization yet, but I'm
it
sure
has.
they'll like take him or talk to him or what have you. I mean, they're also interviewing Buck Pierce, Jordan Maximic,
Yeah,
a few more too. So
right.
it's not. they're not just going to hand Campbell the job on a silver platter, but he's
Yep.
like clearly who you would expect if you're from the peanut gallery like we are, right?
Mhm, mhm. Peanut gallery, a great expression. Okay, so you know, Hervey's out in Hamilton, so now Hamilton's looking for the GM as well.
Hmm.
Apparently, the Ticats are planning to, or at this point, have spoken with both of the assistant GMs in Winnipeg. What is this? Danny McManus and Ted Govella. Um, a lot of dominoes here to fall, basically. I've got
Hmm.
the Lions talking to, or I've got actually the BC Lions and the Elks. Apparently, both interviewed what is this? Jordan Maximic and Brian Phillips. Now that's the offensive and the defensive coordinators for BC. So,
Hmm.
but we don't know anything about that, right?
No. And I mean,
I
just going back to the Ticats for 1 second,
yeah, sure.
if they wanted to play throwback, I mean, wouldn't Danny McManus be a perfect fit, right?
Hmm.
As much as I want everybody to keep their hands off of my front office, like
Yeah.
that makes too much sense. Also got to talk to Ted Gavea on the same
Oh yeah.
night I spent a lot of time with John Hodge, and fantastic guy to talk to too. So I
Wow.
definitely don't want him going anywhere, but if he does, best of luck. You're a fantastic dude. Great to talk to you.
Yeah, I would be. Wow, as a Bombers guy, I would be extremely nervous going into the season if McManus does leave that team. I mean, the defense on the Bombers has been the bread and butter this past couple of seasons, so that would
Richie Hall's also talking to Ottawa too about potentially being their D coordinator too. So
wow.
lots of moving pieces right now.
Yeah, yeah. You're gonna make that one last run, Joe. Better keep some of your coaching staff that got you here to these
Oh, I
past.
think most of it's staying, but because remember they promoted Jordan Younger and put Richie Hall in a consultant capacity, right?
Mhm, 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 mhm. Other than this, not too much going on. So I mean, like, isn't that enough for
Right.
transactions
Well,
so
then you've
far?
also got
Considering
David Alexander signing an
right,
extension in Montreal,
I was just gonna say
and the
through
team making it
2027.
clear he's
Through
the future,
2027.
which means where does
Yeah.
Cody go now?
Oh, I think Cody's the guy again next year.
I don't think so.
You don't? Wow.
Not based off what they said.
Wow. Wow. I guess the other question too is in Saskatchewan, right? Where they had the press conference after the Grey Cup or whatever. And somebody asked about the quarterback position. And the answer was kind of non committal from Saskatchewan. So they're thinking about the viability of Trevor Harris.
Well,
Uh,
Does Trevor Harris want to come back? I don't think they
right,
tell him to go away, right?
right.
But
So
think of it this way: if Trevor Harris decides to call it a day, who's out there for Saskatchewan to grab as a starter?
Cody Fajardo.
Wouldn't that be interesting, right? I mean,
Welcome him back.
I spent some time over the past season joking about Bo going back to Calgary, but
Right.
like, wouldn't that be a reunion, right?
Right. Well, I mean, look, the regime has changed, right, since he was there in Saskatchewan, and they seem to have a line now. They seem to have an offensive line. So eh, that that would be interesting. That would be interesting for Cody.
It
I
would
really
be,
think, yeah, I really think this past 2 years in Montreal, because he had the support, he was really able to develop as a quarterback a lot more.
yeah. Which
I
kind of
mean,
makes it weird to see from the looks of it getting pushed out there.
yeah.
We
See,
could be misreading that entire situation, but
yep.
their press release was pretty clear that Davis Alexander was the future of the franchise.
Well, yeah, but again, that extension is through 2027. So,
And for the money he's being paid, he's clearly going to be getting starter money.
yeah, okay. Fair enough. I'm not ready to give up Cody. Is it? If you had told me I'd be saying this 2 years ago, I would have told you you're crazy. But I'm not ready to let go of Cody Fajardo.
And I was talking you into Cody because
Oh
I
yeah.
saw how much he was, even with the Riders' struggles in 2022, like
Uh-huh.
Cody was doing everything he could to keep him afloat.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. He was really putting it out there that last Riders season, getting hit like 50 times during the season, but still really putting the body on the line for that team that year. Yeah, you are
mhm.
correct. You are correct on that. Um. Okay. Well, I think that wraps it. Any anything anything else, Joe? Any other laments?
I mean, nothing to lament. Toronto played a better game.
Okay.
Like they won that game. They were
Mhm,
champions for a reason.
mhm,
I'm going to be sad about all the missed opportunities, but like somebody had to cause them, right?
mhm, mhm. Okay. All right. Um. Yeah. I want my team to win the East next year again. I want another one.
Oh, of
Uh,
course. It do
Go Als.
no victory is fun. So
There you go. There's a good way to end it. Victory is fun.
uh-huh.
Great. I'm not sure when we will be back. I don't know. Probably. I don't know. Next year? New Year's? I don't know. Somewhere
Yeah,
soon.
we'll see.
So
I mean, if CFL news continues at this pace, we might have to get together in another couple weeks.
yeah, exactly. Well, stay tuned. Do not delete the stream. We will be back. Yeah, let's just close it out. This has been the Rouge, White, and Blue CFL podcast for the 2024 season. RWP is a production of the Shotgun Sports Network. We are sponsored by RoyalRetros.com. My name is Oz Davis, and for my co host Joe Pritchard, we're out of here. That's a bow on the 2024 season. We'll talk to you soon.